Well, hello, friends. I do hope you're having a great day today. Man, if you missed worship yesterday, you missed a great time in the house of the Lord. I mean, the children's Christmas play was yesterday. It was entitled Love Came Down. And it told all about the prophecies of Jesus and talked about all of these events prior and how that 316 prophecies that had been given, Jesus fulfilled every one of them. And so we know without a doubt, the world should know without a doubt that He truly was and is the Messiah. Those kids did a great job. It was a little different yesterday. Everything was in the form of silhouettes. They were behind a screen and you could see the black image of the silhouette of the children back there as they told the story in their actions and playing out. They told the story of the life of Jesus through His birth, His miracles, His death, His resurrection. And it was just a great, great time. So if you missed it yesterday, you missed a great time. I want to thank everybody that was with us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for getting your kids here. If you had a child that participated, thank you for getting them here and for allowing them to participate in that event. That's one of those things that'll stay with them. If we'll just keep implementing it in their lives, it'll stay with them. And that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to try to tie that in to what we're going to talk about this week. So it's Monday. It's a brand new week now. We're dealing with a brand new subject that we're calling generational faith. And this is why I want to tie this in to yesterday being the day of the kids' Christmas play and so on, because I think it's important that those times when our children are performing and doing things like that at church, it needs to become more than just a performance. It needs to be more than, oh, it's the kids' Christmas play. Let's go. Let's get Granny. Let's get Pawpaw. Let's get Auntie and Uncle and all them, and let's bring them down, and brother and sister. It's got to become more than that. That needs to become a part of how we are transmitting faith into their lives so that faith doesn't die with our generation. One thing I do know absolutely about faith, and I call this message generational faith, is because it's important for faith to pass through from generation to generation. Now, while hair color, eye color, body type and size and stature and athletic ability and musical ability and all kinds of things will just naturally, without any help, without any effort, those things will just pass from generation to generation. Faith will not. If faith is not worked, if faith is not acted upon, if faith is not put into the lives, if children aren't trained in the faith, then it will not pass from generation to generation. And we're seeing a lot of parents, especially in my generation, seeing them drop the ball in transmitting faith from generation to generation. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that they've got to make choices. I realize that, and we'll talk about that as well. But we need to make sure that we're doing our part. I want to read a couple of random verses from Hebrews chapter 11, because I told you we were going to be talking about this chapter for a few weeks. I want to read some random verses, and I want to look at the common thread in every one of them, okay? And that's gonna get us to where we're going today. So listen to these verses. Hebrews 11:7 says, faith opened Noah's heart to receive revelation and warnings from God about what was coming, even things that have never been seen. But he stepped out in reverent obedience to God and built an ark that would save him and his family. Did you hear that? It was talking about he and his family, his sons and his daughters-in-law. Verse 9 talks about Abraham, and it says he lived by faith as an immigrant in his promised land as though it belonged to someone else. He journeyed through the land living in tents with Isaac and Jacob. That was his son and his grandson, who were persuaded that they were co-heirs of the promise. So you see generations there. Hebrews 11:20, talking about Isaac now as a grown man, says the power of faith prompted Isaac to impart a blessing to his sons, Jacob and Esau, concerning their prophetic destinies. Verse 21, talking about Jacob as an adult man. Jacob worshiped in faith's reality at the end of his life, and leaning on his staff, he imparted a prophetic blessing upon each of Joseph's sons. That would have been his grandsons. And then Hebrews 11:23, faith prompted the parents of Moses to, at his birth, to hide him for 3 months because they realized their child was exceptional and they refused to be afraid of the king's edict. So every one of those, the common thread is faith being transmitted or passed from generation to generation. It doesn't come naturally. That means we've got to do our part. My children look like me and my wife. Everybody says that we have one of each. We have a son. They say he looks just like me. We have a daughter. It says it looks just like her. He acts just like her. She acts just like me. And you see those things happen naturally. We didn't plan any of that. All of that just happened naturally. Faith doesn't happen that way. You've got to work it. You've got to put it in them while they're young. You've got to do everything that you can to transmit faith to that next generation in such a way that they know that it is a part of their life that they must not separate themselves from. And that's going to take a lot of work on our part, because you can't beat it into them. You can't drive it into them. You can't grind it up and put it in a pill and make them swallow it. That won't work. It's something that they have to see you and me live out from day to day. And by the way we live it, we've got to make it worth it to them. So we've got a job ahead of us. We've got a big job to do. We've got a responsibility to the generation following us, and we need to do the very best that we can. I'll leave this with you. If you saw the play yesterday, it was done in silhouettes. The kids acted behind a white screen, and we saw the silhouette images, the dark images on the front. Now, silhouette is defined as an outline or a general likeness of a real object that is projected on a screen. It's like a real object. It is not the real object, it's like a real object. Now, while we had a good time watching that, and that was a great way to communicate the message of that play yesterday, let me tell you this one thing as we're leaving today on this Monday. The faith that we display in front of them must not be a silhouette. It does not need to be like the real thing. It needs to be the real thing. We cannot just project a silhouette on Sunday and then the rest of the week something else. We've got to let them see the real thing. Real faith needs to be seen in our lives each and every day, and that's the only way that we'll ever transmit faith from generation to generation. Well, hey, it's been good being with you today. I've got to get out of here. I look forward to being with you tomorrow on Tuesday's edition of Take 5. Until then, God bless you. Have a great day. Remember, friend, trust the Lord. He will never fail you.